Steven Spielberg is one of my all-time favorite directors. In fact, behind me on that shelf, I own every single movie Spielberg has ever directed. With nearly 50 years in the industry and over 30 movies, it's hard to deny that he has talent. Every movie that he does, he brings something different to the table, no matter the size or scope. So, I guess I'm just a little surprised at times to find people online and in the real world who have a huge dislike for Steven Spielberg, going as far as to say they think his movies are bad and they find him very overrated. From the beginning, with his first movie, you could already notice the sensibilities Steven Spielberg would have as a director. With his movie Duel, released in 1971, he took the simple premise of an extended car chase and turned it into an event. There was something special about seeing this idea brought to life. It was simple enough, about a man being chased in a car by a trucker. We never see the villain's face, and we don't quite figure out why this chase is happening to begin with. But it's suspenseful. Spielberg took nothing and turned it into something. I can't help but feel that when people go after Spielberg with negative criticism, they often forget some of his early work, how he could be quite daring at times and have unbelievably real characters, and even throw in a sad and unexpected ending at times. Any praise that is given to him is for his big hits, like the time he turned a popular novel into the biggest movie of all time, and caused a real-world epidemic of people being afraid to go in the water. They bring up Jaws because, given the production, it was nearly impossible that this movie managed to be finished, let alone become a blockbuster. Spielberg can keep a production together and give us things we had never seen before. People will also direct their praise to the out-of-this-world experiences he'll create, especially when it's something personal. It seems that people nowadays think Spielberg is just a hire-on director rather than an artist, who can create compelling emotional work like Close Encounters. We can always point at his mistakes, but let's face it, since the beginning, he's had failures. Not everything has always worked, and things that seemed like surefire hits become incredible misses. He took chances in the early days, and they didn't always pan out. But when those chances did work, they'd create for a spectacle, an awe-inspiring piece that feels larger than life and contains absolutely everything we love about cinema. Spielberg is paying tribute to movies while also making great movies. But maybe his detractors don't like that his movies can be, at times, simplistic. Oftentimes, he doesn't try to say anything too big or life-changing. Sometimes it's just about people involved in events, and sometimes that's all audiences need to relate to in order for something to become a global sensation. It'd be easy to say that people are doing that age-old thing of hating on the person that's popular, but it's not like everything Spielberg makes is incredible. In fact, there's some things that I do find to be iffy or even bad. There are criticisms to be had of Spielberg, but to call him a director who just shows up on set and makes a simplistic project is really overlooking his better work, and I can't help but notice that every one of his movies contain hints at his current worldview or emotions. Every project he has taken on has been personal to a point. I think the work is personal even when he can't fully relate to the morals or themes of the movie. And sure, he does try to grab that Oscar bait crowd once in a while, but I think he's always put his best foot forward, and with it, has created some of the best films to ever come out of Hollywood. It's easy to point fingers at the movies that become unmemorable or pointless, but we can't forget some of his biggest triumphs and adventures, some of which are meant to be watched over and over again. Even some of his movies that are simplistic or manipulative can still work and be a fantasy-filled extravaganza, where the sets, actors, and score help to elevate an idea. And let's face it, one of his best movies involves the simple premise of dinosaurs eating people, yet he helps to add so many extra elements that bring it beyond what's typically expected out of a B movie. Even his biggest haters can't deny the power and emotion of recreating one of the darkest periods in human history. He's helped to create a picture that will never let us forget a tragedy that should never happen again. Obviously, he's had a lot of passion for his movies, sometimes to the point of being emotionally drained, and his next work may not be as good, and may even be his worst movie. And at times, trying to recreate that same kind of emotional power can't be easily done. Yet Spielberg always bounces back with something different and big, adding different cinematic techniques and characters that become memorable outside the view of Spielberg himself. Spielberg has managed to work with some of the biggest professionals in the business, and has become just as big a producer as he is a director, even working with his personal idol, Stanley Kubrick. Spielberg can cross into many genres that reflect on the current state of the world. He can make espionage thrillers that feature brilliant performances. He can give us a chance to watch our favorite actor take over a movie, even if the movie itself doesn't work too well. He can even do new adaptations of classics and still create something that's alarming and different. He can tell stories that are desperately needed for our age. I can understand his criticisms at times and why people may feel like he's past his prime. But I think that ignores the great work he's done even in the last decade, which, in my opinion, has been a much better decade for him than the 2000s or even the 1990s. I don't care if he's still fighting hard to win an Oscar at times. Even his Oscar bait movies have a craft and signature, and to me, makes them immediate classics. Sure, sometimes he gets too into the zaniness and whimsy that it makes him seem out of touch, but if you have your own issues with Spielberg, I'd recommend you check out his early work again and compare it to some of the movies he's done in the last couple years, and I think you'll find he's still as good as he always was. I also realize that I may be alone in my opinions, like I am for my love of Ready Player One, but like my review of that movie, I hope my angle of Spielberg can offer a different context and narrative to why I'm still so fond of him, and why you should be too. And if you want my advice, for every production of his that's released, the best we can do is to at least give it a shot, because he at least has a strong enough track record that proves success, or at least a good rebound to his biggest failures. Thanks to Lucas for this Patreon request, and thanks to all my Patreon supporters. For only $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. Ask me to review anything I haven't already. There's also other perks like blogs, exclusive videos, and early access. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and thanks so much for watching this video.